All right, ramble on. Let's get into spoilers. I'm Nick.
I'm Brendan.
Let's talk Frozen 2.
Let's. All right.
So in our American recut, we did cover some basis of it. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch it. It's spoiler free. You won't miss anything.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like with this movie, it's a Disney movie. It's Disney, it's animated, it's Frozen. You know more or less what to expect going in. So I want to take the time to nitpick some of the places where it diverged. And I want to give a warning before I get into the nitpicks. With everything I nitpick, I know why they made the choices they did, and everything I nitpick would come at the cost of the story, which is primarily and hugely focused on the relationship between Anna and Elsa, the main two characters, and focuses heavily on their emotional states and the way that they perceive things. Any nitpicks that we would do or any discrepancies we would take from the script, they would take away from that. So bear in mind that any kind of nitpick I say is not something that says, oh, this movie's crap because someone can nitpick it, or oh, this movie's amazing because their nitpicks are also small and weight. These are just things where these are things that I would look for in a movie that this movie didn't go for.
And I should probably... So my nitpicks are probably more like, just simple out of like, they introduced this mechanic, why didn't they expand upon it? Or like, what is that? I feel like that should kind of be more elaborated on. Well, those are my kind of nitpicks.
And the answer to those kind of nitpicks, and I think that that's similar to my own nitpicks, is if you do that one, you take time away from the primary emotional story of the two main characters and take away from the focus of the movie, which is on their emotional states and they're coming to understand their own lineage.
Right. Actually, so yeah, I have no real qualms with the larger premise of the movie. It was good. It wasn't your conventional cookie cutter, bad guy shows up, abducts whoever, and day is saved and whatnot.
The premise is fine, but I think that it does follow the hero's journey pretty closely. There's a call to adventure. They reject the call. They're guided to take the call by the mysterious elder that's far away. They go through the journey, the blah, 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 blah.
Right. Well, there's that aspect of the journey, but I think I like what you said earlier in the American recut, where it's a little more unconventional, which... You are right. That's actually a very good word for it, because this isn't quite the same usual movie Disney does.
But I know that the advertising on this movie has been pretty vague, so just a brief overview of the movie is that Elsa and Anna remember that there is a forest full of kind of Nordic spirits. It's supposed to be very Norse themed. They go to the forest, try to make go with the spirits. And that's basically the plot of the whole movie, is kind of dealing with each of the spirits of like wind, water, fire, earth.
Yeah.
And kind of coming to the Captain Planet type ending.
Yeah, I kind of winced. Like, I was thinking, like, oh god, is the Avatar going to show up?
Very heavy Avatar vibes. That is a huge thing I got from this movie. A lot of Avatar vibes.
Is Elsa Aang? Is that what I'm
totally. Because, remember, she's the fifth element. That's the mixture of all the other ones.
That's true. Okay, actually, so I do want to take a quick second to ask you this. So, because the trailers were so vague, what were you kind of anticipating from this film?
I wasn't sure. I was expecting this to possibly be heavier on fighting stuff. I was expecting this to be kind of a war-themed movie. I had no idea what to expect. I really didn't. I was expecting like Vikings, Norse.
Yeah, I was
brutality, something like that. And then, the power of love saves the day or whatever.
Right. The trailers were so action-packed, we were under the impression that there was going to be a huge fight. I think we all were, which is very fair.
But I think it was refreshing to me that there wasn't like this temptation to go like hard on the effects and just have a ton of fighting, pointless battle nonsense.
Right.
Because almost every conflict is resolved in a clever way or just through empathy, which I always like in animated movies in general. It tends to be the best way to portray these things without getting boring.
I agree. It was a nice, refreshing take on how to resolve your problems.
But anyways,
we digress.
I think I want to focus on the ending first for my nitpicks.
Oh, okay.
So the way this movie ends is and Elsa kind of gives up the throne to Anna and then becomes like a crazy wood lady. And it's kind of like season 2 of Legend of Korra, where like the spirits live in harmony with the people and whatever. But I felt like there was a lot of stuff that was lacking in this ending, especially because Elsa's always kind of been a character that was very non-traditional, right? And not just non-traditional in the sense of like, she wears pants.
Yeah.
But non-traditional in the sense that she doesn't have any particular love interest. She has no particular interest in society in general. She's much more concerned with discovering herself than, like, the people around her. She's kind of a narcissist in some ways.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of interesting to me for a character, where her motivations are much more, like, theoretical and, like, emotion-based than anything to do with, like, the world around her or wanting a specific thing. And the moral this movie gives out is, if you don't want what society wants, go live in the woods and be a crazy spirit hobo. Which, if there's any young girls or boys that, like, empathize with Elsa, that seems like a weird message to send, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. You're not wrong in the sense that, Elsa is a very strong character, so incredibly expanded upon, you can see why she's so widely loved. But, no, the ending of that, I agree.
Just go off and become God, it's fine.
Go be Avatar. Yeah! She essentially, pulls a Yoda and just lives in the woods, but at least she's not alone. She's not alone.
But Yoda lived in the woods because he was exiled.
It was self-exile, right? Or like,
self-preservation after the Jedi, or was whatever. I don't care about Star Wars much. But, yeah, this is a thing where Elsa kind of just chooses to do this, and it's weird because the setup for this movie isn't that she's bad at her job. She's actually excellent at her job as a queen.
Oh, yeah.
She's kind of just, her main focus is that I'm too powerful to be a queen. I must be more. Which is weird because she has a moment during, like, the Chamber of Memories stuff or whatever, where she, like, explicitly goes out of her way to say, power doesn't corrupt, it's fear. And then her power leaves her to give up the throne and take a position of basically godhood.
Yeah, no, that's that is a little vain. I'm not gonna lie.
Also, it was very cute when they did the thing that every sequel does, where like kind of cringing away from the centerpiece of the previous movie. In this case, when she's like she comes across a memory of herself singing "Let It Go." She's kind of like, ugh. Maybe not that one.
I know what scene you're talking about in particular. That was kind of a nice little stroll / cringe down memory lane.
It was very cute.
Yeah. That was a nice little homage to the first one.
I think that's my biggest nitpick, is that the way they handle the ending in general is really weird, because it has a weird message for Elsa, has a weird message for Anna. She has a weird little throwaway line where she's like, "Don't worry, I prefer you in leather."
That's right. I kind of cringed at that one.
Cringe, I was just like, what are you implying?
Yeah, right.
And then the tribe, which is called like the Norse, like there's like an extra syllable on there, but it's the Norse. It's a Norse tribe.
They're like Native American / Nordic tribesmen, that apparently were involved in some conflict with Elsa and Anna's grandfather.
They got screwed by the white man.
Yeah, they got screwed by the white man, and that is one part of the premise in this movie. Kind of righting the wrongs of the past, i.e., your grandfather was a bigot and kind of caused a whole nationwide conflict between another nation. So, there's that little...
It's weird, though, because with this Nordic tribe, they introduced them as, like, the poor, victimized people of white culturalism, or, like, Western expansion, I guess is the non-Nazi way of putting it. But...
what a way to bring this about in time for Thanksgiving, too.
But the thing about this is that with the Nordic people, they're only introduced as victims. They don't really get much depth on their culture. They don't get much beyond, like, they worked with the spirits to develop their society. I was really hoping we would get some kind of classic high magic, high fantasy elf society where, like, they've combined technology with architecture,
right,
and magic. Like magic with technology to create these highly unique things and like a whole civilization.
Right.
Instead of spending 40 years living in tents.
That would have been... I agree. Now I'm going to go into my nitpicks. They introduce characters and lore that they just didn't really fully touch up on, and I'm kind of peeved at that. Like, I felt like that was a missed opportunity. They could have...
I was hugely interested in the Nordic people. That didn't really get explored. They kind of just throw these very, like, kind of obscure Norse concepts right at your face and don't explain them.
Right.
Like, about the fire salamander, the kelpie, the
fire salamander. You see, because, like Elsa, it's a creature that can use magic. But, there's no other avatars that could use the other elements.
I feel like the part that's really confusing is the Kelpie, especially because technically in Norse mythology, Kelpies are like kind of horse-looking water spirits that do try to drown people, and that's exactly what it does. But since they never explained what a Kelpie is, that has to be really confusing.
Right, exactly. And, so going into characters that are never elaborated on as well, their mother is apparently from this... Elsa and Anna's mother is apparently from this Nordic tribe.
They also repeated the problem of the first movie, where dad is a fearmonger that is kind of abusing them.
Yeah, that. No, it's... That was out there, so is that why Aunt Elsa has her powers? Because her mom could wield a air or some element?
I think with that one, they explained that it was a gift from the elements to her mother for getting over biases and striving towards peace or something like that. They explained that one somewhat.
Somewhat, but even then...
But the part that bothers me is they kind of go back to the parents' death and explain that they actually died in like the North Sea trying to get to this mystic river place to find an answer for Elsa'S condition. And then they all died.
That was
They all died on the voyage to find out about their daughter's magic because, again, they were terrified and acted out of fear. It's the most pointless death. It is the most pointless death now that we have all the information. It's just terrible.
It is. Like, whatever.
Well, it's there to motivate Elsa to, like, push her sister away and make sure she's the only one that gets hurt by this.
Okay, sure,
but this seems like a weird way of throwing the parents under the bus again.
It really is. Like, you couldn't have just chalked it up to something else. Instead, you had to put a Kelpie sinking their battleship? Okay.
You couldn't have taken some time to explain to your daughter, hey, by the way, you're not cursed with this frost magic. It's actually from my culture and the magics of the land.
Right. You didn't disclose any of that?
Instead of, you're a monster and must hide this constantly.
Oh, Lord. No, it's a good story. God.
The story itself is fine. It focuses mostly on the emotional beats of Anna and Elsa. Because Anna's working through a lot of emotional stuff here. She has to work through confronting this cause of her parents' death. She has to work through her attachment issues with her sister. She has to cope with the idea of her sister dying.
Right.
And extended grieving over that.
Right.
And then, finding the strength to move on. And Anna has some pretty decent arcs in this as a character.
Agreed. And
it's an oddly realistic portrayal of grief.
It is, and that's kind of what makes this movie so tantalizing.
There are a few kids that were fucking crying in the theater because they treated it so seriously.
Really? Oh man,
they treated it so seriously. The kids were like, "Oh my god, Elsa's dead."
Same with Olaf. I think some kids kind of...
Olaf got dusted.
Yeah, he totally got dusted.
I don't feel so good.
He came back, by the way.
Oh, of course he...
Motherfucker didn't die.
Come on, of course they came back, but...
For the kids, though.
We're adults, that we're not kids, so... as far as an extra angle, which is, will your kids enjoy this movie? The kids were generally not bored in this movie.
No.
Whenever they were starting to get bored, there was an Olaf scene at just the right time to kind of get them back on track.
Yeah.
Overall... good experience for kids.
Good experience for kids, I agree, and somewhat engaging for adults. Like we said,
oh my god, the best song of it, which I want to get into the best song of the movie.
Oh god,
is Kristoff's song.
Oh, the one with the whole herd of reindeer.
That was a wonderful song. There's so many weird little band references. It's kind of like this false rock ballad. It's got these scenes where it's got a floating head that gets superimposed on. It's got him singing To the Pine Cones as mics. There's the huge Queen reference near the end of it.
It was charming.
It's charming as hell. It made no sense in terms of the story and kind of took me way out of the movie where I was like, oh, these are cute references.
Right.
It was fun, and that's really why I cared about that song. Speaking of Kristoff, he kind of takes on what is usually a female role in these movies where his entire arc is defined by his love interest.
Yeah, and that was cute.
Kind of cute. He gets a whole song about it. It's fun. There's also Ryder, who is Forrest Kristoff. who also talks for the reindeer.
That's a good way of putting him. Yeah, we forgot his name.
I didn't forget his name because his name is the same as the guy from Tangled, Flynn Rider.
Oh shit. Okay. Speaking of, let's go back to Olaf. So he kind of surprised me in this film. The last movie was annoying.
His whole thing is that he's kind of grown up with the kids who watched the original movie, and he's hitting his teenage years of like introspection, wondering about his place in the universe, coping with death.
And that was a total pleasant surprise.
It's wonderful. He has a whole song about how, this babe looks good, but I'm sure this will make sense when I'm older.
He went from intolerable man-child to tolerable man-ish.
He's a lot of fun. I feel like the voice actor for that one just had a ton of fun with them, just improvising a lot of stuff about, did you know that water holds memories? It's highly contested, but it's a fact, because I said so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun stuff with Olaf in this one. It's pleasant. It's pleasantly surprising.
It is,
but
yeah.
If you're worried about, if you're going to movies for kids, he has the same slapstick stuff for the physical comedy for them, while also giving this kind of weird existential dialogue during it.
And that's pleasantly surprising for Olaf's character. No, like we said in the American recut, they laid out certain themes right in the open through this character, and it was interesting.
Like, his first song is all about like the way things change in death.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa!
it's a fun song. It kind of sets up a lot of stuff that's coming down the line, and it kind of sets up one of the main themes of the movie, which is coping with death and change.
Yeah, and no, that was a well-delivered way of introducing those themes to kids. I mean, power to you, Disney. You did good.
I mean, they did all right, because nitpicks exist, and there's like a ton of them.
Well,
because,
yeah.
They threw a lot of stuff at our faces and didn't give any explanation for most of it, because it was just there as a plot device given.
Right, and in their defense, there's only so much you could cram in a 90-minute film. Granted, but that's where. Going back to what I was saying, my nitpicks are primarily with missed opportunities with lore. Because they did introduce characters like the salamander that were never really brought up again.
Well, the salamander's just cute.
But he wields fire!
He is fire.
And he is the living incarnation that uses fire, like Elsa'S the living incarnation that uses ice. Any other avatars, benders, whatever the hell they are?
But I guess since we both recommended the movie, we should probably take some time to get into what we liked about it.
Yeah, you know what? That's enough nitpicks. Let's get into what we liked about it.
But by and large, I think the musical numbers were all pretty good. There wasn't one in particular where I was annoyed with it.
No.
Maybe one song with Elsa where it goes full stage mode, where she gets a spotlight on her, the environment vanishes, and it's just her playing with her magic. That one's a little bit But otherwise, the songs were pretty good.
No, yeah. So the songs were pretty good. I didn't dislike any of the songs. In comparison to the previous film, the one song I did not like was that stupid "Fixer Upper" song by the Trolls.
You think Fixer Upper?
Yeah.
So speaking of the Trolls, they are relegated to plot device in this movie.
Yeah.
Because basically they were like, what do we do about all the people that live in this city while the city's going to get destroyed? Give them to the Trolls. And
they babysit the people. They babysit the
That's all they're there for.
Town.
That's all they're there for.
Excuse me.
But anyways.
So what 5 things you liked about the movie?
I liked Kristoff's song a lot. In the soundtrack in general, I'll take that as one point.
Sure.
I liked the way they approached Anna and Elsa's relationship. I liked how Elsa had to go through a whole grieving motion, and the fact that she didn't immediately get over it when she found out her sister was alive. She's kind of crying and overwhelmed the entire time.
Yeah.
I liked the inclusion of a lot of the Norse mythology stuff. The Kelpies were cool. The Kelpie was cool to see. The way they handled the kind of mischievous wind spirit and the fire salamander was neat.
Yeah.
And I think I liked. I didn't like that. I think I liked the beginning of this movie, especially. It really flows well for the first 20 minutes of the movie or so, and kind of gets us going.
Sure.
Which is a way that all these animated movies kind of have a minor failure, is at the beginning is slow. This one moves fast enough that it's satisfying.
Right. I'll go into mine then. So, number one for me is Olaf. He surprised me, and he was a very pleasant surprise. Two was the premise, because like we said, they took certain liberties and made it an unconventional emotional plot that was nice. A welcome change of pace. Three, like Nick said, Elsa's whole emotional journey, as well as Anna's. Four, Kristoff trying to propose to Anna. I just found it adorable. And five, I guess some of the other background characters I kind of liked. I liked that general. He was nice. Beyond that, those are the things I liked about the movie.
Alright, so suppose then, if you don't have anything else to get into, we could get into our final summaries and final recommendations.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Alright, want me to start this time?
Go for it.
Alright, with Frozen 2, this is a movie I ultimately did like. It ends up having a pretty strong emotional through point throughout the movie, which I always prefer movies that know their characters emotionally rather than having bullet points for where they need to go and the plot they need to fill out. The stuff with the Norse mythology could have been expanded upon a bit more, and the Nordic tribe in general, but for what it was good for filling its role of being important for Elsa and Anna. And generally this movie was entertaining enough that I never was terribly bored during it, and it was paced well enough that generally I never felt like there was a horrible lull where I couldn't get over it. Some moments took me out of it here and there for it being a little bit too cutesy and meta, but
yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed this movie a good deal. I think I like it better than the first Frozen, but honestly I'd put them both on about equal ground because the first Frozen has its own problems.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I would recommend this movie in theaters.
Yeah, and likewise. So, arguably, the second movie is just as good as the first. A few nitpicks here or there, but all the same. Characters and scenes are further developed. Animation and songs are just as entertaining. Kids loved it, and adults aren't going to leave dissatisfied. So, you know what? Go for it. I recommend seeing this in theaters.
All right. Don't get too nitpicky with it because it is still just a kids' movie and blah, 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 blah.
Yep, blah, blah, blah. No, right. I came to the movie with low expectations, and it kind of raised the bar for me. You know what? It wowed me. It wowed me.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. Next week is Thanksgiving. There will not be a review. And then week after that will probably be Knives Out.
Ooh, I'm interested. I'm eager to see that movie. All right, this has been Brendan.
And this has been Nick.